Proverbs 11. A false balance is abomination to the Lord, but a just weight is his delight. When pride cometh, then cometh shame, but with the lowly is wisdom. The integrity of the upright shall guide them, but the perverseness of transgressors shall destroy them. Riches profit not in the day of wrath, but righteousness delivereth from death. The righteousness of the perfect shall direct his way, but the wicked shall fall by his own wickedness. The righteousness of the upright shall deliver them, the transgressors shall be taken in their own naughtiness. When a wicked man dieth, his expectation shall perish, and the hope of unjust men perisheth. The righteous is delivered out of trouble, and the wicked cometh in his stead. An hypocrite with his mouth destroyeth his neighbor, but through knowledge shall the just be. When it goeth well with the righteous, the city rejoiceth, and when the wicked perish, there is shouting. By the blessing of the upright, the city is exalted, but it is overthrown by the mouth of the wicked. He that is void of wisdom despiseth his neighbor, but a man of understanding holdeth his peace. A talebearer revealeth secrets, but he that is of a faithful spirit concealeth the matter. Where no counsel is, the people fall, but in the multitude of counselors there is safety. He that is surety for a stranger shall smart for it, and he that hateth suretyship is sure. A gracious woman retaineth honour, and strong men retain riches. The merciful man doeth good to his own soul, but he that is cruel troubleth his own flesh. The wicked worketh a deceitful work, but to him that soweth righteousness shall be a sure reward. As righteousness tendeth to life, so he that pursueth evil pursueth it to his own death. They that are of a froward heart are abomination to the Lord, but such as are upright in their way are his delight. Though hand join in hand, the wicked shall not be unpunished, but the seed of the righteous shall be delivered. As a jewel of gold in a swine's snout, so is a fair woman, which is without discretion. The desire of the righteous is only good, but the expectation of the wicked is wrath. There is that scattereth and yet increaseth, and there is that withholdeth more than is meet, but it tendeth to poverty. The liberal soul shall be made fat, and he that watereth shall be watered also himself. He that withholdeth corn, the people shall curse him, but blessing shall be upon the head of him that selleth it. He that diligently seeketh good procureth favor, But he that seeketh mischief, it shall come unto him. He that trusteth in his riches shall fall, but the righteous shall flourish as a branch. He that troubleth his own house shall inherit the wind, and the fool shall be servant to the wise of heart. The fruit of the righteous is a tree of life, and he that winneth souls is wise. Behold, the righteous shall be recompensed in the earth, much more the wicked and the sinner.
Good evening. It's Wednesday, September 24th, 2014. This is your host, Mike Callahan, and welcome to the Watchman News. Wow, there is, again, a lot to be said in Proverbs. Verse 5, the righteousness of the perfect shall direct his way, but the wicked will fall, but the wicked shall fall by his own wickedness. The righteous of the upright shall deliver them, but transgressors shall be taken in their own naughtiness. When a wicked man dieth, his expectation shall perish, and the hope of unjust men perisheth. The righteous is delivered out of trouble, and the wicked cometh in his stead. You know, I think the Bible really emphasizes how important it is to prepare. And we're going to have a bit of our show about preparing and survival tonight. I said something about it last night, so I figured I'd spend a little bit of time talking about preparedness, survival, just a few little tips and pointers, and we probably need to start doing that a little bit more. That was one of the reasons I wanted to do the show. Was to link the two. You know, there's a lot of shows out there that either discuss the Bible or they discuss preparedness and survival, but you don't see too many that do both. And the reasoning that I have behind doing both is to try and kind of connect the two so that, you know, people's not standing there with a water filter going, well, when am I supposed to use this thing, or how am I supposed to use this thing, or, you know, or that they don't use it incorrectly or something like that. Anyway, let's go ahead and get suspicious observers done and out of the way, and then go from there. And I actually have it saved. Can you believe that? Alrighty, enjoy.
Good morning, folks. Last night the sun woke back up with an M2.3 solar flare from the incoming southern sunspot group. Although only a moderately energetic eruption, it was spectacular to watch. It was impulsive but still likely produced ejecta. We happened to catch it mid-explosion and were able to note the minor radio blackout produced by the X-ray energy. The flare came from the only place it could have come from, the interacting magnetics on the southern incoming spots. The area of mixing extends from the center of the group to the southern tip of the lead positive umbra where a tiny negative spot is found. I'd love to be able to tell you if the CME is Earth directed, but as of 5 a.m. Eastern, both LASCO cameras had another 8-hour gap. Missing data. I see even Dr. Phillips noticed the lack of data this time. By the way, that's Venus coming in up there. The solar wind is still rather steady, but tipped south and with some moderate density. This is producing continued geomagnetic instability, and while the solar sector boundary crossing likely played a role, it's also possible that one or two of those small plasma filament eruptions from the last couple of days has finally made it to Earth, contributing to the geomagnetic disruption. Other than that, we've got the big coronal hole Earth-facing, but it has lost significant power in the last 48 hours, with the departing opening up north taking it back. We've got those thin dark plasma filaments coming in above the flaring spots, and Earth quickly eclipsing the SDO for one of the last times this season. It's looking like we may skirt this quake watch with unusual shaking only, like the Aruba and Antarctic rumbles from the last 48 hours. Chile and Central America with little upticks last night, and it looks like Iceland is no longer alone in rumbling the North Atlantic. This is the first of two animations linked for you below the video. This is the view from the Mars rover as October 18th turns to October 19th. comet sighting spring passes quite close to the planet. Also linked below will be our sighting spring playlist, which goes into detail about what's going to happen. On the 19th, the comet will swing by quickly, and with even a small telescope, you will be able to look at the red planet around sunset and see the comet passing by. This was sent to us from the makers of Solar System Scope, and we thank them for again sending us their latest visualization. Here's the second one from NASA. And folks, this is not Earth. This is what they think Mars used to look like. The video is accompanied by a good article and description of the MAVEN mission objectives monitoring the upper atmosphere of Mars. New typhoon candidate is luckily slated to head north instead of heading for the Philippines again. Across the Pacific, we expect the low south of Mexico to be named very soon. That low off the northwest coast will continue to pour down rain as well. This was the scene at the main U.S. convergence in Florida yesterday. More than 7 inches of rain fell in 1 hour. Shifting a bit, we see that convergence still at the U.S. East Coast, with the northern flow remaining in the central states. Flood watch remains in the east, while storms and rain can be expected from Texas all the way up across the Canadian border. We've got 3 lows we're eyeing in Europe. The western one is minor and a little hard to see. Also a convergence just southeast of the UK. Those 4 areas have their thunderstorm warnings tonight. 1 low in southeastern Australia, and 2 blocking high straddling it, clearing the clouds, leaving that low as the lone watch down there. We've got some other weather watches around the world and some shots of our start to close at 6:15 a.m. Eastern Time, 4:15 a.m. Mountain Time. Eyes open. No fear. Be safe, everyone.
And thanks again to Ben Davidson. Suspicious Observers, links down in the About tab, as usual. Oh, a bunch of fun stuff. Okay, well, I've got a little bit of news for you, and then we're going to get started on prepping stuff and survival stuff, and we'll go from there. Always a bunch of real nice video clips and stuff, images that he has after his show. So anyway, let's go ahead and move on. First story is from RT. FBI forces police departments across the U.S. to keep quiet about cell phone spying gear. Not only are local police departments across the United States increasingly relying on so-called stingray devices to conduct surveillance on cell phone users, but cops are being forced to keep quiet about the operations, new documents reveal. Recent reports have indicated that law enforcement agencies from coast to coast have been turning to IMSI catcher devices like the Stingray sold by Florida's Harris Corporation to trick ordinary mobile phones into communicating device-specific international mobile subscriber identity information to phony cell towers, a tactic that takes the approximate geolocation data of all the devices within range and records it for investigators. Recently, the Tallahassee Police Department in the state of Florida was found to have used their own cell site simulator at least 200 times to collect phone data without once asking for a warrant during the 3-year span. And details about the use of stingrays by other law enforcement groups continue to emerge on the regular. But while the merits of whether or not law enforcement officers should legally be able to collect sensitive cell information by masquerading as telecommunication towers remains ripe for debate, and continues for certain to be an issue of contention among civil liberties advocates. Newly released documents raise even further questions about how cops use stingrays and other IMSI catchers to gather great chunks of data concerning the whereabouts of not just criminal suspects, but seemingly anyone in a given vicinity that happens to have their phone in their hand or pocket. Relentless pleas for details about use of IMSI department in Washington State paid off recently when investigative news site Muckrock obtained a 6-page document after following up for several months on a Freedom of Information Act request placed with the TPD. According to the document, police in Tacoma were forced to sign a non-disclosure agreement, or NDA, with the Federal Bureau of Investigation before they could conduct surveillance, or begin conducting surveillance on cell users with a Harris-sold Stingray. Although the majority of the December 2012 document is redacted, a paragraph from FBI Special Agent Laura Laughlin to police of chief, ain't that supposed to be chief of police? Donald Ramsdell reveals that Tacoma officers were told they couldn't discuss their use of IMSI catchers with anyone. We've been advised by Harris Corporation of the Tacoma Police Department's request for acquisition of certain wireless collection equipment technology manufactured by Harris Corporation. The FBI letter reads in part, consistent with the conditions of the equipment authorization granted to Harris Corporation by the Federal Communications Commission, the same people that control all communications, TV, radio. State and local law enforcement agencies must coordinate with the Federal Bureau of Investigation, to complete this non-disclosure agreement prior to the acquisition and use of the equipment technology authorized by the FCC authorization. Interesting stuff here. So, I just don't get how this is okay, where this is okay. I don't get it. I don't understand. I don't want to get it. It's because it's not right. But the link's down there in the About tab. They have the statement with almost everything redacted out of it. You can read the rest of the article too. But this is ridiculous. And this is what they call a pilot program. Because it's going to be implemented. It's going to be implemented all across the country. Folks, we are going to be tracked absolutely everywhere we go. Everything we do is already being recorded. We're probably already being tracked everywhere we go. It's got to stop. It's got to stop. I mean, and that may mean, for a person's own personal interest, they may want to start leaving their cell phones at home, which I know defeats the whole purpose of having a cell phone. But what else are you going to do? I guarantee you there is not a cell phone out there that you can buy that would prevent anything like this. And don't fall for the bogus stuff that, this company's going to come out with this app or that app or whatever. No, it's not going to work. And even if you took and you took out, if you disassembled your phone and totally removed the GPS antenna so that it could not receive a GPS signal, you're still going to be tracked by something called triangulation with cell phone towers. So the only way that it's going to stop, aside from people leaving their cell phones at home, and again that defeats the whole purpose of having one, is to bring this entire system down. The entire system. And then find people to rebuild the system piece by piece to make sure that all the remnants of this, I'll call it anti-technology, are removed. It's, Orwell, there's no way Orwell could have written about what's going on today. There's just no way. So I wanted to bring that out in front of we're going to start doing we're going to have a couple police stories here. And, I mean, I really, honestly, folks, I don't go looking for these stories. I run across these stories. It's every day. More and more stories are coming out. Every single day. Wow. It's amazing. So, we start out with a story from, I've been doing a lot of stories from the Free Thought Project, and they do have a lot of stories about officers. So as the headline reads, don't want to get raped by a cop? Police chief's advice, obey the traffic laws. Wow. Pretty amazing stuff. Pretty amazing stuff. A Tulsa sheriff's deputy has resigned after he has been arrested for sexually assaulting 2 women. According to the department's statement, Deputy Nichols has said he exposed himself to other women in his 2 years on patrol and has a problem being around pretty women. The department is now asking other victims to come forward. Oklahoma has made headlines with 3 serial rapists in 3 weeks, all officers, as well as 1 police chief molesting children, corrupt Frisco cops reports. Daniel Holtzclaw, an Oklahoma City police officer, is out on bail and on paid leave, charged with 4 counts each of sexual battery, indecent exposure, and oral sodomy, 2 counts of rape, and 1 count each of burglary and stalking. He would allegedly threaten to arrest women who refused to comply with his sexual demands. He's on paid leave. Paid leave. Paid. Did I mention paid? He's on vacation, folks. He's on vacation. Wow. Former Spavanaugh, something like that, Police Chief Gregory was back in court on Thursday for stalking his 2 underage molestation victims and following their school buses and parking outside of their schools to watch them, KJRH reported. State Highway Patrol Trooper Eric Roberts was arrested on Monday after complaints of kidnapping, rape, and other crimes after 3 women alleged the officer sexually assaulted them while he was on duty. Given the string of sexual assaults, Channel 2 News asked Oklahoma Highway Patrol Captain George Brown about their hiring process and background checks, as well as how to remain safe when dealing with the police. His response? Don't get stopped. So when I know a lot of websites, if you hear it on the internet, blah, 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 and I agree, not everything you hear on the internet's true and all that. I do my homework because there's a lot of bogus stuff out there just as well as there's accurate stuff out there. So see for yourself.
If you're ever worried about interacting with law enforcement, there are a few things you should keep in mind. Captain George Brown with the Oklahoma Highway Patrol says when it comes to troopers, they will always be in uniform and in marked cars. If you're pulled over, he says it's okay to keep your door locked and crack your window to talk to the trooper or officer.
Okay, now I want to just pause right there. I have seen countless videos of people trying to just crack their window to speak to an officer to where they get threatened that they're going to get yanked out of the car. Because they keep the door open. So, go ahead, we'll finish the video.
Mr. Brown also says it's rare that a trooper would ask a woman to come back to his patrol car.
There are certain situations where we do that. If someone doesn't have a driver's license on their person, we ask for an ID or driver's license, but they can't provide it, rather than stand outside the car riding, which puts us in a bad location. We may ask a female back to the car so we can get her information.
And the captain says anything that happens inside a trooper's car is videotaped, and he says that supervisors do review those tapes. He says the best tip that he can give is to follow the law in the first place so you don't get pulled over.
Oh, yeah. It brings a whole new perspective to these type of things. It really does. Really does. Why aren't people freaking out about that? I'm just curious. Just doesn't seem like people really care too much. So, I don't know. No else to do. The next story is from Huffington Post, and it involves another police officer. It just doesn't quit coming over and over and over. When is it going to stop? When are people going to stand up and actively put a stop to it? Because it's not just going to happen on its own. So NYPD appears to slam pregnant woman Sandra Mesquita to the ground. Let me Let's see. Raw video posted to social media Tuesday appears to show NYPD officers slamming a pregnant woman to the ground, belly first. Sorry about the dog barking. The woman, Sandra Mezquita, 44, reportedly tried to intervene in the arrest of her 17-year-old son. In the video, officers from the 72nd Precinct appear to be filming before slapping handcuffs on her. The New York Daily News reports that Mezquita is 5 feet 4 inches tall and 5 months pregnant. Don't resist. Throw your hands up, an onlooker warns as Mezquita is grabbed by the arm by an unidentified officer, but the words come too late. A friend tries to get in between the officers, but she is thrown to the ground. Cops issued her a summons for disorderly conduct. Her husband was arrested for allegedly assaulting a police officer. There's video of the incident. I've also heard that she was tased. I don't see that here in the article. I'm not quite sure if it's going to be in the video. I've seen the video from somewhere else, so we'll see. I saw just a short clip.
This video shows the altercation between a pregnant woman and NYPD officers early Saturday morning. It appears to show the officer throwing her to the ground before placing her in handcuffs while she lies on her belly. The woman was identified as 44-year-old Sandra Mezquita. She's 5 or 6 months pregnant, and witnesses say she was trying to stop police from what she called harassment of her 17-year-old son. Authorities were arresting him for possessing a knife. It happened around 2 a.m. in Brooklyn's Sunset Park. The Facebook group El Grito de Sunset Park posted the video and called for action against the officers involved. It claims Mezquita's stomach was bruised and she's also having complications. She told the New York Daily News she's been experiencing abdominal pain since the incident. She said, quote, "You would think the police would respect a woman that is pregnant. I was afraid something happened to my baby. I am still afraid that something is wrong." Witnesses and others who have seen the video say it's hard to watch.
What we're seeing here is a group of officers that are acting more like criminals instead of people that are here to protect us and serve the interests of the people in this neighborhood.
Yet again, this is the second time we've seen a video like this in this precinct. This is a result of a culture that needs to change.
And I did hear a report that there is complications in her pregnancy, so
8 African-American construction.
I hate autoplay videos. But, yeah, we'll see what happens there. Again, I didn't see her tased again. That was a different site that I had seen that article. So, yeah. On the other end of things, something that we won't see happening, I'm sure. Bill to demilitarize the police introduced into the House. Legislation has been introduced to the House of Representatives to demilitarize the police. Gotta love ads. Close. Close. Yes. Interesting. Okay. Well, I hate sites that do that. Let's get on to the story. The proposal is designed to scale back the transfer of equipment from the Pentagon to the local police departments, including high-caliber weapons, sound cannons, grenades, grenade launchers, and certain armored vehicles. Let's do the 1033 program. The proposal has attracted at least 17 co-sponsors, including Representative Jim Moran, Justin Amash, Tim McClintock, and John Conyers, senior Democrat of the House Judiciary Committee. Presidential candidate Rand Paul voiced his concerns, writing an op-ed piece for Time after the August Ferguson incident, stating, "The militarization of our law enforcement is due to an unprecedented expansion of government power in this realm. It is one thing for federal officials to work in conjunction with local authorities to reduce or solve crime. It is quite another for them to subsidize it. Americans must never sacrifice their liberty for an elusive and dangerous or false security that has been a cause I have championed for years and one that is near crisis point for our country." So I really wish it would let me get rid of that. But anyway, yeah, so I wanted to do that story. I doubt we're ever going to see the demilitarization, but there's bills in the House. I think that's more or less just trying to show people that there's efforts being made. But Anyway, another next story. This is from Prison Planet. And as we already know, hospitals and doctors and stuff is doing everything they can to make money, and it's kind of a two-part problem. For one, with the new with Obamacare and everything else, things are a little bit rougher. They're not making the money that they were, and their costs are not going down. But still, there has to be some transparency, because we're just never going to get anywhere. Anyway, scam alert: hospitals all over America are wildly inflating medical bills. Next time you visit a hospital, it's your wallet that may end up hurting the most. All over the United States, it has become common practice for hospitals to widely inflate medical bills. For example, it has been reported that some hospitals are charging for up to $30 for a single aspirin pill. I've seen worse than that. And as you will see below, the victims report being billed tens of thousands of dollars for a non-surgical hospital visit that only lasts a few hours. When something is seriously wrong with us, most of us never stop to ask our health professionals how much it will cost to actually treat us. In that moment, we are desperate and just want someone to help us. Many doctors and hospitals take full advantage of this by billing their customers as much as they feel they can possibly get away with. It is a legal scam that is bilking ordinary Americans out of billions of dollars every single year. So, and if you go down and you read this article, there's several instances. One of the things that I really wanted to point out in the article is how, like right here, before his 3-hour neck surgery for herniated disc in December, Peter Dreyer, 37, signed a pile of consent forms. A bank technology manager who had researched his insurance coverage, Mr. Dreyer was prepared for the bills when the bills started arriving. $56,000 from Lenox Hill Hospital in Manhattan, $4,300 from an anesthesiologist, and even $133 from his orthopedist. Who would know he would accept a fraction of that fee? He was blindsided, though, when a bill of about $117,000 from a quote-unquote assistant surgeon, a clean-space neurosurgeon whom Mr. Dreyer did not recall meeting. I thought I understood the risk, Mr. Dreyer, who lives in New York City, said later, but this is just so wrong. I had no choice and no negotiating power. The practice is known as drive-by doctoring. It has gotten completely and totally out of control. All over America, doctors are popping into surgeries or stopping by to talk to one another, doctors' patients, for a few minutes and charging thousands of dollars for this quote-unquote assistance. It's probably, I don't know, it just doesn't make sense. Of course, none of the medical profession makes sense. It really doesn't. You go into a regular doctor's office visit, you spend 45 minutes in the waiting room, you finally get back into your room, and, you know, in most cases, not all, but most cases, the doctor comes in, spends 5-10 minutes with you, he's back out of the room, and you're done. But you show up 5 minutes late for your appointment, and they make you reschedule. So, even though the doctor's not going to see you for another 40 minutes. So, it's pretty ridiculous. And then they still charge you. So, you know, what can you do? What can you do? But yeah, the article, the link to it is down in the About tab. You can read it. Feel free to go over it all. Okay. The other links that I have for you, we're going to start doing a little bit of prepping stuff. 21 things a prepper should never throw away. As soon as the page loads, anyway. And some of this stuff is good ideas. That stuff just seemed like they were looking for something to fill a web page. But broken crayons, candle stubs, and other forms of paraffin wax can be used to make new candles, or along with other items, be used to make fire-starting tablets. Dryer lint can be used as tinder, or when combined with paraffin wax or petroleum jelly to make fire-starting tablets. Cardboard egg cartons can be used to sprout seeds, or as a container for fire-starting tablets. All types of wood, lumber can be used for construction, and scrap wood, not pressure-treated, can be used as fuel and in permaculture beds. Water jugs, soda bottles can be used to store water, rice, and beans. Rope, longer pieces can be used for climbing, and shorter pieces can be used for lashing gear. Plant waste. Fruit and vegetable scraps, yard clippings, etc. should be added to your compost pile to create a natural fertilizer. Certain fruits and vegetables, such as pineapples, carrots, and sweet potatoes, can be regrown from scraps. So can like turnips and beets and stuff like that. If you've got something that's got like a root that's just coming right off the vegetable itself, you can typically just cut that off, throw that out in the yard or in your garden, and it will regrow. So let's see. Bacon grease can be used for cooking and lasts forever. Simply strain it through cheesecloth into a mason jar. I wonder though, after shit hits the fan, pardon the word, where people are going to get bacon that easily. Medicine bottles can be used to store fishing gear, tinder, and other small survival kit items. Something to remember about medicine bottles is they are not necessarily waterproof, so just keep that in mind. Newspaper can be used as garden mulch to prevent weeds from growing, to clean windows, and as tinder. Cardboard boxes can be used to store the food you can, making it easy to grab and go if you have to leave in a hurry. Glass bottles and jars can be used to store foods and liquids. Bins, bags, and buckets can be used to store or transport all sorts of things and makes it easy to keep things organized. Spice bottles can be used to store the spices and herbs gathered from your garden. Outgrown clothes can be used as barter items to give to needy families as rags or combined with the stick and flammable liquid to make torches. Hair clippings, human or pet, can be used as fertilizer in your garden and to keep deer and other animals away. Small bits of used soap can be melted down and combined to form usable sized bars of soap. Lighters, even when empty, can still be used to start a fire using the flint and striker. Wire of all types and sizes can be used for lashing gear, transmitting power, and building expedient antennas. Twist ties have almost unlimited uses, such as fixing eyeglass, carrying plants to stakes, and of course sealing bags. So, like I said, there's a lot of kind of stuff that really I wouldn't think needs to be needs to be said. A lot of the stuff should be a given, I would think, but it's on there, and it was. I figured it. If people didn't know some of the creative ideas, it might help out. So this is one that I've been sitting on for a little while. I've had some shows and haven't been able to get to it, and I really wanted to be able to do so. So without further ado, 32 survival skills your child should know and be able to do as soon as possible. Knowledge is something that takes time to develop, so we need to start teaching the next generation now, in case, God forbid, our children are left to fend for themselves, or we are injured, or even just make your family more apt to survive. Every child must learn these survival skills so they can pull their own weight and contribute as much as they can. Not just a physical survival we need to teach them, but mental, emotional, and spiritual survival as well. If your family learns how to be a well-oiled machine, you will be more likely to survive any type of collapse. And that is very, very true. I'm trying to remember what, there was a movie, and I can't remember offhand which movie it was, but it really emphasized that statement. But they need to know how to grow vegetables and seeds, have local edible and medicinal plant foraging skills, and most adults need that. Knowledge of dietary needs and how to meet them using wild plants and game, make a fire and know fire safety, cook on an open fire, open a can of food with and without a can opener. And I don't know if I've ever showed a video of that on this show, but yeah, you can simply rub the top of the can on concrete or something like that, and it will grind the lip of the can down, and you can get it open easy. Be able to tell if food is too spoiled to eat, how to safely use a knife, how to shoot a slingshot, how to hunt small game with snares, traps, and a slingshot, how to fish and hunt bow and gun when old enough. I love that, when old enough. How to clean fish and wild game, find water and identify if it's safe to drink, filter and boil water to drink, basic first aid, basic hygiene, find or build shelter in the wilderness, how to stay warm, cool, and dry in the elements, how, why, and when to stay hidden. That's very important, and not just visually hidden, but audibly hidden as well. and hidden in many forms. Cover your tracks if you happen to be in the woods or whatever, you know. Any and every way to stay hidden is important there. Self-defense, how to make a basic weapon and how to use it, be able to run and walk a good distance and generally be in good shape, how to climb a tree to get away from predators, get directional bearings and hunt, how to read a map and use a compass, how to read the sky for directions, time and approaching bad weather, know where family and friends live if they need to find them, how to sew so they can mend clothing or any fabric, and even make things such as bags or scrap quilts, how to bargain, trade, and it says kids naturally do this with their toys, so teach them at garage sales, how to be responsible for themselves and be aware of their surroundings at all times, have a natural curiosity, good problem-solving skills, be hardworking and self-starter and a family helper with not a complainer, have a strong faith in God, morals, memorize Bible verses, prayers, songs, and have a hope for heaven. So anyway, that was 32 different skills, which I do think are important skills to have. I would think in any case they would be good to have. There's a couple. There's a couple people to subscribe to on YouTube, and I played a video, and I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna play it again. It was from Seven Trumpets Prepper, and it was about going back to the old ways of things. And I'm going to play that again because it was a very good video, and I think this is also something very important that we need to teach our children. So I'm going to go ahead and play that again real quick.
Welcome to Seven Trumpets Prepper, and in this video today, guys, I want to share with you something that's been on my mind since I'd done that video with my friend Kevin O'Brien that's a realtor. Me and him got to talking that day after we filmed that video. If you want to see the one I'm talking about in particular right there, we got to talking about the fact that, you know, if you don't start now, returning to the old paths, there's no going back later. And what I mean by that is prepping wise, I'll get to that, and I also want to talk about a spiritual perspective that I got thinking about even beyond what we were talking about. I'll cover the prepping aspect of that. What I mean first is that if you don't put your hand tools and you don't put back things that you can power later, this stuff here is going to fail you if you don't do something about it. Obviously, I mean, this thing needs a wood gasifier piped in, and there's no going back to this stuff, all right? The only thing you can go back to is the old paths if you put it back. Because you can't go get a horse after, bad times come. You can't go get an old plow at some antique place and fix it back up. Then you can't go back to doing all these things then. It needs to be started now. And it's just so imperative because me and Kevin really got to talking about it, breaking it down, and if you think about it, most people on average don't even have garden tools, don't even have the slightest idea how to even begin a garden. Just the most basic necessities to begin homesteading, because now I'm speaking for a moment from the heart, from being a farmer all my life before I became a prepper in 2009. I'm talking literally, this is from the heart, people, is that all these things all my life I took for granted because we always had both means. My grandfather had Belgian draft horses, some of the finest in the land. To see him hook to them, pull, plow, or do whatever, it wasn't no surprise. That's Papa doing his thing. Nowadays, I'm like, oh my gosh. I'm like, if we had to go back to that, could somebody do it? And, me and Dad's been working on the farm and everything, and the old plows and stuff, we were recovering some of them here recently, and I was just thinking, we do have the best of both worlds, and I ain't saying that to brag, but when you have both perspectives to look at, it makes you consider very quickly in your heart, how will I keep that going, later down the road, post-collapse, whether it's Seven Trumpets Revelation, economic collapse, whatever, because just like I'm looking out there right now at one of the tractors, even though we could roll the thing off the hill, get it going if we had to, that still you need fuel for it at some conjuncture. There's just so many factors to take in whenever you go to looking at that, as opposed to how the people of the old days done is you had a hoe and you had a meal in your stomach from that morning and you went out to the field and you got it done. And that's exactly how it's going to have to get back to. And I think that that's the endurance aspect is going to get a lot of people. I think even if they do have the tooling, the fact that they don't never put it to application, it's going to be what breaks them. It's the little stuff that gets you. And so I'd encourage you to definitely get those things now. I want to read you something from the scripture, and I was thinking about this because this covers so many people. Seriously, it really does. It says in Jeremiah, in Yirmiyahu, chapter 6, verse 16, says, "Thus said Yahweh." So this is not one of the prophets' thoughts. This is not some man's thoughts. This is the Most High instruction. "Thus said Yahweh, stand in the ways and see, and ask for the old paths, where the good way is, and walk in it, and find rest for yourselves. But they said, we do not walk." And it gets better. "And I raised up watchmen over you. Listen to the sound of the ram's horn. But they said, we do not listen." And I want to read two more. It really hits home. "Therefore hear you nations, and know, O congregation, what is upon them. Hear, O earth," speaking to everyone. "See, I am bringing evil upon this people, even the fruit of their thoughts, because they have not listened to my words, nor my Torah, and they rejected it." And, just like that people ain't made preparation for the Seven Trumpets Revelation, people ain't made preparation for anything, really, anymore. And we are living in the lip service society generation. I think that's the best way to label it. People is so lukewarm. And even when it comes to people with prepping, they don't even really do their due diligence. And so, ladies and gentlemen, I want to encourage you today that if you don't have a means to go back to the old paths, and I mean the old paths, when I mean old paths, I'm not talking get your tractor out, I'm talking the hand method, hand tools, hand work, that you really need to think on these things, because one day you're going to have to fall back on it. And my best advice is to get started today. And not only that, if you ain't gotten back to the old paths in Scripture and keeping the Master's commands, it don't matter how much we prep. If we're not doing our due diligence to honor Him and keep His commands when time comes, you could have the best equipment, the best preps in the world, and it ain't going to save you from nothing. So until we see you again here at Seven Trumpets Prepper Channel, I hope it's a help to you, and I hope you have a most blessed day in Yahushua's name.
And I sorry about the connection problem I had there. There was probably a little pause there. Yeah, I had a network issue. No real big deal. But anyway, so yeah, he says a lot there. I wanted to play that again. And also, I wanted to bring up at the end of this, since we're talking about prepping, I often talk about 4 ways that we need to be prepared and the order in which we need to be prepared. Number 1 is spiritually. And that's no secret. I've said that for a while. Let me pause that. Spiritually, okay? Number 2 is mentally. Number 3 is I'm losing track. Background distraction. So spiritually, mentally, and I'm drawing a blank on the 4th one. I really am. But I wanted to focus on mentally anyway. One of the ways that we can stay sane, for lack of a better word, because it's going to be hard to do that, is to have some comforts. And with, say, for instance, our rations or meals or whatever you want to call them, whether it be a chocolate bar, a packet of hot chocolate, some coffee, even a drink once in a while is a good thing to help calm our nerves. The other thing is nicotine, and there is a way. It's not going to be as easy as going to the local gas station or tobacco shop or whatever and to get a pack of smokes after things go crazy. So that. Can you imagine it for the smokers? I can't imagine somebody who's never smoked wouldn't know, but could you imagine going from somewhat normal, if you call this society normal, could you imagine going from this to an SHTF scenario and not being able to have nicotine? It would make for an extremely stressful time, and we want to do everything we can to keep our heads clear in a situation like that. It's very important. So I would definitely say nicotine is important to think about in prepping. It really is. I really don't have a whole lot to say about alcohol. Alcoholics probably aren't going to make it in an SHTF situation because of withdrawals and whatnot. I don't really know what to say there, but I can give suggestions. Electronic cigarettes, and this show isn't. We're never going to have a donate button or anything like that. It's not about that. It's about getting a message out. But I am going to start selling juice for electronic cigarettes, and hopefully actually start selling some of the electronic cigarette devices themselves. But I urge people to look at that, because you could use a solar charger to keep your batteries recharged and whatnot, and you can store a lot of a supply of e-juice and what you need in a small amount of space for an electronic cigarette. It's just, to me, it's smart. If you've got a nicotine addiction, you don't think you can, kick that nicotine addiction in time, then it's something to look into. And I did bring up some pictures of our labels if you wanted to see what our labels look like. These are just some bottle labels that I did. Got strawberry milk, chocolate covered banana, banana grandma, which is a chocolate banana and graham cracker mix, and like a baseball card bubble gum. It tastes just like the bubble gum that you got with baseball cards, but that's just to give you an idea of what I'll have, and I'll give more details about how to get that if anybody's interested or anything. Again, this isn't about making money, although it will definitely help out. So, and the name of the company is Survival Smokes, and it will definitely help out. I'm just not one. I'm not going to sit there and ask for money. I'm not going to sit there and put up a donate button or anything like that. I don't believe in that. I want to stay away from that. I'm going to stay virtually ad-free as much as I can. Although I probably will have an advertisement in the show for Survival Smokes, just because it goes hand in hand. I mean, I'm using a $10 Walmart desktop microphone as an example. You don't see me on webcam because I don't have a webcam. You know, and these are all things that that will go back into the show as well as help support, you know, my life. I mean, this is the work I do. So, and I've been out of it for a little while, trying to get back into it. So I thought I would share some of the labels with you, some of the flavors that that I'll be offering. But the reason why I got into electronic cigarettes to begin with wasn't to quit smoking. It was for prepping and survival. That's what it was for. It was I made a logical decision. I thought, well, you know, in that type of event, in that type of scenario, we're not going to be able to just go get a pack of cigarettes, you know, or a bag of tobacco if you roll your own, or whatever the case may be. So what are we going to do? And I got to thinking about it, and I'm like, wow, electronic cigarettes would be the way to go. And not only that, and I've said it before, you want to talk about a barter item. Wow. If you could get some supplies, learn how to mix up your own juice, or even if you didn't mix up your own juice, even if you bought pre-mixed juice in bulk, could you imagine? You know, things like drugs and alcohol are going to be, and food, are going to be worth tons of money in a crisis scenario. Nicotine is going to be worth just as much. So it's something to think about. Something to think about. And if you want to know more about it or whatever, hit me up. Survival Smokes does have a Facebook page, or hit me up on the Watchman News Facebook page. And I'm more than happy. This isn't just about making money or anything with this. It's also about supplying information, giving information. That's what this show's about, and that's what actually Survival Smokes is about. If you go and look at the Facebook page, you will see that it's the primary goal of it was to connect the survivalist and prepping community with the vaping community, because I do believe that that the vaping community can drastically help the survival community in this area. Again, you know, we have to be able to keep a level head. We have to be able to keep calm. We have to, you know, and we need some comforts. And for those that smoke, nicotine is a lot of the battle when it comes to staying calm and comfortable and collective, and you know. Just ask somebody that's a heavy smoker; they'll tell you. But anyway, you know, we'll have more about not only the electronic cigarettes in other shows, but we'll have more about just a wide range of survival stuff. I'm going to start trying to guide the show a little more that direction, as well as covering news. I'm trying to make sure I don't get away from the base of what the show was going to be about, and part of that was survival and survival techniques. So anyway, that's what I got for you tonight. Again, sorry for the network trouble I had and the background noise and whatnot. I apologize. So that's what I have for you. God bless you. May you walk with you and be one with your spirit. I can't even speak. Anyway, I love you all, and I'll see you tomorrow night. You have a good one.